Whether you ride the T or commute on the highways, you know that transportation problems are also political problems. That's why officials from local communities, including Boston's Mayor Menino, want to change the budget outlook for transportation by changing the political map, mainly by clearing the boundaries between different sets of priorities. That was the purpose of yesterday's Transportation Summit at South Station. Our guest is from one of the groups behind the event, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. We'd like to welcome the Transportation Coordinator, Jessica Robertson. Thank you very much for being with us, Jessica.
It's great to be here.
I mean, most of our viewers know the T fares are going up, and that hurts, but look a bit farther down the line. Why is this such a crisis right now for transportation in Massachusetts?
Well, it's not just the T fares this year. The current budget problems are only for this coming fiscal year that starts in July. What a lot of people don't realize is that even if we have all of these fare increases that they're talking about right now, and even if the legislature passes a bill this week to find that last $60 million, we're still going to be short $100 million next year. So the T is going to start with a whole new round of fare increases and service cuts. And that's because they have a structural budget deficit. They have more expenses than they have revenue, and they have had that situation for over 10 years. Now that's just one piece of the problem. We were trying yesterday at the summit to talk about the bigger situation overall. So it's not just about the T, it's not just about the Boston region, it's really about the whole state. And in addition to public transit, our roads and bridges have a similar situation. The State Transportation Agency, MassDOT, has a structural budget deficit as well. They have repeatedly used capital funds they've borrowed in order to pay operating expenses. And as Secretary Davies said yesterday, they're mowing the grass along the highways with the credit card. And what that does is that creates an even bigger problem down the road, because you end up paying not just the amount that it costs to mow the grass along the highway, but you also end up paying the interest on that debt.
How big a problem is the highway system compared with the T? Because I think until recently, certainly, I think the impression has been, oh, the T's in a serious problem, but that's only Boston and the surrounding communities, and the rest of the state says, you know, forget about it, that's not our problem.
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question, because the T, this year they had a $161 million deficit in their budget. And meanwhile, while all of the hearings were going on and everyone was coming out to the public meetings to say, don't cut my bus, the MassDOT put $285 million onto the capital budget to pay for operating expenses. So it really goes across the state, and it's...
Well, what about the things that could go wrong with the people who rely on the highway system? There have been a lot of bridge repairs in recent years, some of that with stimulus money. So is there really that much to work on that people have to be worried about?
Absolutely. We have a number of structurally deficient bridges. The MassDOT's Fast 14 program, where they repaired a number of bridges along 93 last summer, was a huge success, but that was only a small number of the bridges throughout the state that need repair. Local roads in towns and cities across the state have potholes and, you know, need improvements, and bottlenecks on our highways are partly a result of, you know, engineering that could be updated to make those transitions smoother and safer. And so it's really about every single piece of our transportation system. Even the regional transit authorities in cities like Springfield and Worcester, they need, you know, there's a demand for public transportation. People want more buses. They want buses to run later in the evenings and on weekends, but those agencies also don't have enough money to provide the service that people are demanding.
And we hear about that in Boston. The people from the Future Boston Alliance, they want service past 1 a.m., even 2 a.m. maybe.
Absolutely.
What about I guess maybe a worst case scenario here is that we don't have any significant change in revenue picture for transportation. We have another T fare increase next year, a significant number of service cuts, and maybe another one the year after that. What does that mean for not just the T riders, but I guess the people on the highways?
Well, Barry Bluestone wrote a column a few months ago that put it perfectly, saying that the people who should be most strongly in favor of fixing the financial problems at the T are the people who drive every day, because they're the ones who already have plenty of congestion. It already takes them long enough to get to work. And if we cut back on the T, or if we make it too expensive for people to ride, a lot of those people are going to decide to drive, and the congestion is only going to get worse.
What about revenue ideas? I know there are things that have been taking place that are kind of short-term relief, like Massport taking over some of the tea business, but really, you know, the things that we've heard about, the big picture things like raising the gas tax, they sound to me like a political third rail.
Certain things absolutely are. Raising the gas tax is one of those things that, you know, Governor Patrick proposed it a few years ago and it was shot down, and a lot of people are scared to talk about it because of that. Ultimately, I think it's going to have to be a package of a number of different options. I don't think there's a silver bullet, and the gas tax might have to be part of that. We haven't raised it in 20 years, so it might be time, but ultimately the gas tax is not a good long-term solution, because as cars get more fuel efficient and as people switch to hybrid cars and electric cars, we actually earn a lot less from the gas tax because people are just buying fewer gallons of gas.
Of course, another concern here is the economy. When a transportation problem becomes a drag on the economy, the head of your organization, Mark Drazen, was talking about this yesterday as well. Explain that. How is it that kind of a problem as well?
Well, there's the obvious connection of freight and business use of transportation, actually getting goods to market and so forth. But the more important thing is it's really about opening up the labor market. So allowing people to get to jobs, allowing jobs to get the right people. So if you have a good transportation system and people have options, then they can look not just within their town for the available jobs, but they could look, you know, somebody could live in Arlington and take the Red Line in and work in Braintree, for example, and so the pool of available workers and available jobs becomes that much bigger, and that's a huge boost to business.
Right. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks.
For the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, Jessica Robertson.